Well, hello everybody. Just trying to do a little update, mostly this time from the outside gardens. I do have a couple of little things to show you that have been harvested in the hoop house, but this shouldn't take too terribly long. I'm going to take you around and show you how things are progressing in the outdoor gardens here. The great thing about our weather right now is the heat wave is over. We've had a few days of cool weather with some fog, but that's cleared off now, and the highs are in the low to mid 20s, no humidity and a nice breeze and clear blue skies. My kind of weather. Couldn't ask for anything better. It's July the 10th, and I'm not going to be recording inside of the hoop house this time. I want to try to get around to the outside gardens, but I had to show you. I'm so proud. These are my first beets. I just pulled two. I'm going to have them with dinner this evening. They're already a decent size. I'm not really sure. I have to check see the variety and see how large they are actually supposed to get when they're mature. But certainly have developed since I thinned them out and gave them another application of the organic fertilizer. I'm so pleased. I always have such difficulty growing beets. These are the Yukon Gold potatoes. Guess I haven't shown them in a while. They've been fully hilled up for quite a bit of time now. And those white flowers behind it, that's the rose bush that I grew from seed. And we also, well, it's almost gone wild here on the island. There are locations where you see it 30, 40 feet up into big spruce trees and whatever. The tallest bit on that one there is, I don't know, 8 feet tall maybe. But it doesn't have anything to climb. I want it to just sort of grow into big arcs. Anyway, so far so good with it. This is my one Cara potato, Brendan, growing in a smart pot. I have to go around the other side, I guess, to show you the smart pot, but it's looking very well. It's hard to believe that's only from one small seed potato. It had blossom buds. I didn't see it ever bloom, but can't find the blossom buds anymore. I've lost them. They fell off or whatever. I've had that happen with other varieties of potatoes here, so I'm not very concerned about that. I'll let it continue to grow until the foliage starts dying back, and then we'll knock it out and see what's inside. Well, that's one of the wild grapevines, one of the two that's growing on the cabin here. It has just started to be trained up the trellis. One on the other side is doing the same, and I haven't checked the ones out at the trees, but the ones that I have on trellises at the house are also starting to vine out, so I guess I should go out and check, see what's happening in the trees, whether or not the slugs ate them all. It won't be long and I'll be able to pick the garlic scapes. I'm kind of looking forward to it because I want to try some lacto fermentation with the garlic scapes and the Daikon radish together. Elise Joseph, if you haven't been watching her channel, she has done a lacto fermentation with just the scapes, and that sounded like it would be something very good to me, so I'm going to combine them along with some Daikon radish and see what happens. Well, at last, the pole beans are starting to climb. The ones that are large enough to do that yet, anyway. As I said in the past, I've had to plant them 3 times, so I have 3 different stages of development here. And they're certainly not all getting up on the tower yet, but it looks like there's hopes of some beans to can later on this summer. These are the winter squash, and the plants are looking really good. Sort of growing over here in a thicket with weeds and everything else, but the squash plants themselves look very healthy. There are some blooms down below, and I guess maybe in the lower corner here what you're looking at is a zucchini, but in the background there, those are all winter squash. They got knocked over a couple of nights ago, and they seem to be coming back up, but we didn't have any wind, so I'm blaming it on my usual culprit here. I think it was probably raccoons just digging around in the bed. They're not interested in the squash, but they're trying to see if they can find grubs in the bed. Also, I have a space under the door in the hoop house. The dirt floor in the hoop house just gets really compacted where you keep walking in and out under the door. So there's a space under the door now that's probably 6 inches or more in the center. And a coon got in there. a couple of nights ago as well. Didn't do any damage, but I could see where it had done some digging in a couple of the beds. So I've put a concrete cinder block outside the door, which hopefully is going to deter him from coming back. I've had several meals with the Swiss chard, and I don't know, I think I have 9 or 10 plants there. It grows so rapidly and so large that I could almost pick it daily. Very good. And in and around it, what looks like weeds, well, I suspect some of it is weeds, but there are a number of potato plants. I planted 2 varieties of potatoes in this bed last year, the red Norland and the Irish cobbler. And earlier, if you remember from one of my videos, I found quite a large Irish cobbler that survived the winter, and I'll show you how it's doing. It's actually in bloom over in one of the other beds. But a number of potatoes have come up here, there, and everywhere in this patch, and I'm not certain which of the 2 varieties they are. There wasn't any way of hilling them up or anything, but I'm hoping that they're growing down deeply enough that they won't get sunburned, and I've just left them to it. I'll dig them later on in the summer when they start to die back, and maybe I'll get some free potatoes that I didn't even plant. There's that Irish cobbler, which doesn't seem like it was any time at all since I planted it. I don't know. I don't think it's been much more than a month, and it's up 18 inches, 20 inches tall and in bloom. So hopes of getting a few potatoes off the bottom of that one, I guess. The pole beans here in these 2 raised beds have actually started to climb. I don't know how well that particular tallest one shows, but it's probably about 4 foot up already, so definitely going to have some beans. I'm excited about that. I really enjoyed the canned beans and want to do more. These are the turnips, or rutabagas. I'm not certain if it's slugs or if it is cabbage moth that eats the holes in these guys, but last year I just left them alone anyway, and as they continue to get larger, they seem to still grow quite nicely, so I haven't sprayed them with anything. I have put down some pellets for slugs, but they're starting to get to be a decent size. There's only 8 planted there. I put 1, maybe there's 9. I guess one of the squares actually has 2 in it, but I put 1 per square foot, like a square foot garden style. So, and they grow right up until we get heavy frost. That's what sweetens them up. So there's lots of time for those to develop yet. These are 3 things that just will not survive outside here over winter, and they get brought in every fall and kept in the living room over the winter. The tallest one there is oleander, and the second tallest is bay leaf laurel, the laurel bay leaf, and then the smallest down below in rather a large pot, I transplanted it in there not too long ago, is rosemary. I want to show you something on the oleander, and then that will finish my little update from the garden here, I guess. That's what it looks like. It's a blossom bud. It's one of the ones that's left over from last winter when I brought it out. It didn't fall off, and they are fattening up and looking like they're going to bloom. Maybe they will, I don't know. But it's been doing this for over a year now. It was covered in those last summer. I never saw a single one bloom. They eventually just drop off and leave the stem behind. I have pruned it back quite a bit, as you can see, and new growth is starting to come out. It was getting too tall and heavy to keep carrying in and out, so I've cut the top back some, but it's flourishing up there again. I don't know if that top part will actually send out any more blossoms or not, but if anybody's got any idea what is happening with my oleander, let me know. I used to have one years ago, and I don't think it ever went outdoors, but it bloomed for me in the house every year, and I can't seem to get a blossom out on these ones. Well, I'm hoping this is in focus. I'm about to harvest my first white cucumber. I know this particular clip I said wasn't going to be about in the hoop house, but I couldn't resist taking a little picture of this thing as I harvest it. One-handed here. It's going to drop, but not sure how big they're supposed to get. But that's the size that I'm going to take the first one at anyway. The problem I'm having with this plant is it is producing so many female blossoms and very few male blossoms. I think a few did get pollinated naturally by bees in here. I'm quite sure that I pollinated this one by hand. And this morning I do see one male blossom, so I'm just about to take my little art brush and go to work and see if I can't get some of the other female blossoms pollinated here, because it is loaded with them. But I guess if there were more plants, there would be more male blossoms for the bees to work with. But having one plant, it's kind of difficult when it has maybe 20 to 30 female blossoms out at a time, and sometimes not any male blossoms.